So I went on Facebook and I saw this post. The former police officer who knelt on the neck of George Floyd prior to Floyd's death in May has been released on bail. So I'll go ahead and go in the comment section. It says, good, now drop the charges. I back the blue man and know he deserves to be put away. Comment above that is, good, he did nothing wrong. And then the very last comment we're going to look at is, they will find him and jump on his neck, knees all on his throat. But this comment really stands out to me the most. Glad everyone knows what he looks like. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Now before I get into this, I'm just going to disclaimer out there. I'm not personally doing this to personally piss this person off or be a troll. I like to actually see what the hell people are, talking about, what their agenda is in life and what they're actually trying to push. There are people that like to help people out there, but there's also people that just want to watch the world burn. Then you have a lot of those that are just stuck up. They don't give a shit about anybody else. They're literally narrow-minded and they just don't give a shit. So the person we're looking at in question is Violet. So the person that said earlier, glad everyone knows what he looks like, Black Lives Matter. Torres says, all lives matter. Violet, including Black lives. So I wanted to give a little spin and twist up on this, so I said Native American lives matter. Then Violet says, yes, they do. Hashtag Black Lives Matter still, Black Lives Matter, and Black Lives Matter 2020. So I thought, okay, you know what? I really want to know what the agenda this person's really pushing, because I really don't care what color this person is. They could be white, black, blue, red, purple, for all I give a shit. So I said, okay, white lives matter. Then Torres goes back in and says, Chinese lives matter. Then I really start opening up Violet, and this person says, now you're getting way off track, and you look like a person of color, so it would behoove you to understand the politics here. Whoa, dude, I'm not even into politics. I can give a fuck less about it. Second of all, you're judging me by color? So that's what it is all along. It's about color. So basically, if a black man in these days standards says, hey, I know you guys are saying Black Lives Matter, but how about all lives matter? This person's going to go, whoa, dude, you're black. No, you need to be on our side or away from us. So I'll give a little breakdown because a person said that I'm of color of question. On my dad's side, he's from Mexico, and on my mom's side, she's from Kentucky. So in her roots, she has Native American. So with all the bullshit going on with, all these illegals jumping the border illegally, and getting caught up in these Jew camps here, and a lot of kids disappearing and being raped and everything else, and probably dying. Probably also being sold to other people and all this other stuff. I wouldn't honestly be like, hey, that's my people. Mexican lives matter. Because no offense, they're really not my people. I may share a bloodline with them, but I'm not going to walk up to each and every one of them that has Hispanic DNA, that is born in America and that is from Mexico, and do the whole hand slap gesture. Hey, my brother, my sister, what up, dog? How you doing? I don't need to do that. I don't need to be stereotypical and, judge someone and base it off of our roots. What up, cuh? The Green Banana Border Patrol are after you and you're illegal? Cash up in my place, cuh. No, I don't need to do that, okay? I'm American. I don't care that other people are like, oh my god, your dad's Hispanic and you don't know Spanish? What? Moving on. So Torres says, babies' lives matter. Violet calls out Torres and goes, Black Lives Matter. So Torres calls out Violet, all lives matter. So John had a pretty good question here, called out Torres. Does that also include women, gays, lesbians, trans, and immigrants? And Violet again calls out Torres, Black Lives Matter, you don't get it, and that's sad. Torres calls out John, yes, all lives matter. John calls out Torres, so then Black Lives do matter then. Torres calls out Violet. I get that. We're all on this earth together, so we all matter. Which is true. We all do matter. And you're about to see that here in a minute. So again, Torres calls out John. All. What part of all is so hard to understand? John then calls out Torres. Not sure why when someone says Black Lives Matter that you trolls have to counter it. When something is countered, it means you are against it. So was just having to clarify, that's all. And that's cool, you should clarify. And that's why me and Torres are breaking down the situation, trying to figure out really what this person's agenda really is. Remember when George Floyd died, that was all about black Americans dying. It didn't matter if you had a green card and you're from Africa and you died again. It was all about that one color. Because black people died, we had to riot. Because black people died, we had to break into the Apple stores and every other store and buy our kids Christmas gifts. But I'll go back to his comment real quick. Not sure why when someone says Black Lives Matter that you trolls have to encounter it. When something is countered, it means you are against it. So if I say all lives matter and then John claps back and goes, no, that's wrong. And says Black Lives Matter. So then when he encounters it and says that, does that mean that he's being a troll and an asshole and that he's against all lives matter? So I really had to push the system here and figure out what's going on because I was getting a little bit iffy about the situation. So I called out Violet and I said, once again, white lives matter. See what you and others look like when you chant a color? You single one race out and put it above all others. Instead, like Torres or me saying all lives matter, could say American lives matter, but now you're saying only our lives matter over Africa, Canada, and other countries. Then Giovanni has this funny meme that says, all lives matter, with what looks to be maybe this preacher chanting, and preaching. So Violet comes back and tags Torres and says, if black people were treated like their lives mattered, this movement wouldn't be necessary. If you don't get it, that just speaks to your privilege. When we say Black Lives Matter, we're really saying Black Lives Matter too, not just white majority lives, but all lives, especially those who are suffering systematic racism. If any minority were in the same position, I'd fight for them too. So when Violet says, that just speaks your privilege, what privilege do we have again? I recently saw a friend's post on Facebook that said, y'all think you could just share everything you want and think that we're not looking and seeing what you share with googly eyes? And I'm sitting here like, okay. And in the comments section, I'm like, no, I totally agree. I mean, the whole, race thingy and Black Lives Matter deal. And I said, so I'm getting my Blue Lives Matter sticker here pretty soon. Yeah, that didn't work. That didn't go very well because a lot of people got pissed off in her friends section and called me privileged, and that I wouldn't know how it felt to be in their shoes. You're right. You, no offense, you black folks wouldn't know how it feels to be in our white shoes. For all the times you go, well, you white people enslaved us, and you should be ashamed. You owe me your property. You should give it to us. All white people should hand down your things. Don't forget, that link is in the description with that woman saying it. But again, apparently I'm privileged. I'm still trying to look for my white privilege card. I don't know where it is. I must have misplaced it, or maybe I missed a meeting to this apparent privilege. Long story short, America, I don't have privilege. And a lot of people don't have privilege. Does that mean that it doesn't exist? No, it exists. Same thing with slavery nowadays in the US and out of the US. So here's a link in the description about this country guy giving a good example about privilege and a fine line about it and what it really means. So real quick before I move on, let's go over, if any minority were in the same position, I would fight for them too, on the very bottom of the text. So let's go ahead and break that down real quick. Now I'm just throwing examples out there, no racism intended, but let's say black people were replaced with the amount of bullshit that was happening with white people, or just, I don't know, Mexicans. So let's say with the amount of shit that's happened with the black folks, communities, whatever, that Mexicans were in their place. Do you understand where I'm going with this? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? I don't care if you're afraid of law enforcement and you run, whatever, I get it, you're afraid. You're afraid that, you're of a color and you don't want to be shot or killed or stereotyped. But if another race like the Hispanic race did the same thing they did, they would be in the same fucking boat. Which means we wouldn't even have Black Lives Matter, we would have had Mexican Lives Matter or Spic Lives Matter, whatever the fuck people want to come with now these days. But again, Violet tags me out there, see above explanation, son. Yeah, no, I totally understand what your agenda is now. Moving on, so Torres calls out Violet, so why not include the two? Violet says, why won't you just say Black Lives Matter? Because they do, 100%. Torres calls out Violet, I'm sorry, but Hispanics and other races go through the same. And that's true, they fucking do. I'm no better than you and you're no better than me. But here's the kicker, here's the best part, and this is why I said I'm not trying to be a troll or an asshole or trying to piss someone off. I simply just want to open someone up and try to really figure out what they're about. So Violet says and calls out Torres, because they're treated like they don't matter, and they don't need to be lumped in with other people because they matter, independently of the rest of us. They matter. If they can't embrace the concept, you're part of the problem. So going over that again, because they're treated like they don't matter and they don't need to be lumped in with the other people because they matter. So again, you are holding them above everybody else, and a lot of people are too, right? I mean, that's literally what we're seeing nowadays, and that's what people just aren't understanding. A lot of people's visions are clouded nowadays. They don't understand the physics of what's going on today. Other people are saying that all this is happening because of the politicians and between, Trump and Biden. I don't know if I can fully believe that, so I'm not gonna fucking say it. But yeah, we're in this together, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care what race you are, and a lot of people don't care either. Just look on YouTube. Look at this link in the description, this white guy that holds this sign asking different colored people, white, black, Mexican, whatever it is, if I remember correctly, was about actual Black Lives Mattering, or if it was about, breaking into places and rioting and stuff. So again, Violet calls out Torres, you are either willfully ignorant or stupid, so I'm going to move on now. Thank you. That's literally what I was personally waiting for, because I really didn't understand at the beginning what you meant by just Black Lives Matter. So again, Torres calls out Violet, sorry, but most act like they don't matter. Look at the majority of cases that they did not follow simple orders, or am I living in another universe? Comply and live, don't resist, and by all means, don't reach for a weapon. In some cases, that's true. Other cases, it's actually not true. It literally all depends on which officer you deal with. Just like it all depends on what surgeon you go through when they have to remove a piece of shrapnel or something out of you. Hell, it even depends on what judge you're going to get, and if you're supposed to be at court at 8 o'clock sharp in the morning, and this judge doesn't get there at 11 in the morning, and the judge is breaking rules, which has happened, link in the description, and that person just doesn't give a fuck about you or other people because you fucked up and you shouldn't have. So there's 2 YouTubers that you need to follow, or at least you should check out, and one of them is called Donut Operator, who's a former law enforcement officer. The other one is Officer 401, who is currently in law enforcement. So Officer 401 is just starting to get into his little video breakdowns due to the date of this video. Donut Operator actually debunks a lot of videos, especially race videos out there that, you know, why the fuck are you going to say this about someone online when it's actually not true type of videos. For instance, I'll give you this one. So there was this lady on Facebook called Samantha We Slay. She has or had a black boyfriend, but she made a huge paragraph status of how the cops pulled over her boyfriend and then, you know, took him out of his car and threw him over the bridge. And if I remember correctly, suffered whatever bones, lacerations, whatever it is that are broken bones and yada. So then everybody on Facebook, because of that one status from her, and she's white by the way, you know, no race intended, yeah, made a lot of people pissed off against law enforcement because, well, there's a lot of people out there that don't like to do their research, unlike Donut Operator and people like me. So Donut Operator got a hold of the dash cam and body footage video and went ahead and took her Facebook status after somebody screen captured it and put it on his YouTube channel for the public to see. Just like Sean King and other people out there, there's a lot of people that are spreading false bullshit. And a lot of you people that are sheep should not believe that automatically. Moral of the story is you weren't there. You didn't know what happened. So you have to follow either with mouth of word or with actual fact evidence from pictures and videos. So I'll give you this little scenario real quick. This, what was it? 12 and 13-year-old, well, 12-year-old boy broke into me and my dad's apartment and then let his 13-year-old female friend in unlawfully. Inside the apartment, he opened the door and let her unlawfully enter or breach the premises. So of course, I get off work, I find him in there, and they knew that I wasn't going to be there throughout the whole day, even my dad. I told them to get the fuck out of my apartment, they wouldn't. I banged on the wall, they finally left, and then little boy calls mommy, that's at work at Taco Bell, saying, oh my god, Josh is trying to run me over in his truck. So what does mommy do? Like any great fucking parent. They're their knight in shining armor. Again, she wasn't there. She didn't know what was going on, so she had to take her son's words for it. So mommy comes, and the police patrol car, whatever, was in front of me. And as soon as the patrol car came in the apartments first, she quickly gunned it from in back of him until he finally got out, and she got out, and she was... Oh, long story short, ladies and gentlemen, she thought that I was in the wrong when he told maintenance, hey, well, how can you take off a screen window and pop open a window? Oh, very easily, a flathead screwdriver, a pocket knife, anything. Prior to me finding the kid's knife in my bed, and I showed it and said, I don't know whose fucking knife this is, but by the end of the day, it's going to be mine. And the stepdad was like, yes, okay, now that makes sense, but let's just figure this out. And the sergeant at the time in our town was like, all right, Joshua, you know what? You know, I'm not saying I don't believe you, but, you know, it seems like this kid is telling the truth. And it was full on believing this kid until I found that knife, and then maintenance told him how to open a window. And then it narrowed down. The sergeant said, oh, kid, so you actually broke into his apartment. Okay, all right. So there's a time and place for everything, but just know that you need to be very careful of who you deal with and who you're around with. A YouTuber that's also good to follow is Adam Calhoun. One more link in the description also is Officer Tatum, which is another good person, a former officer or still an officer in Tucson, Arizona. Really cool guy. He likes to break down a lot of videos as well. Especially for Violet, who likes to, you know, target people for color. You can watch his videos. And real quick, because a lot of people are probably thinking that I'm just targeting Black Lives Matter and skin color. A friend of mine recently passed away when he got off work from oil drilling going back to Colorado, but he wanted to stop in another state towards Colorado to see his friends, where this Forest Park Ranger cabin place is, and the person caught him speeding. I'll have the 2 links in the description. One is the first video of the body cam, and the after link is about them breaking it down and being justified. But long story short, he was being cocky, he wasn't following orders, he was mocking the person that had not only a taser, but a service pistol on him. And he got shot in both the chest and the leg and passed away. Do you honestly think that I should just form a big group of people that's colored, or just white, I mean, because that's usually what it looks like, but whatever group of people, and start burning down the forests that this dude's supposed to protect? Or do the same thing that they did for George Floyd and go after that officer's house like they did, but go after the forest ranger's house with a big group of fucking people? No, there's a way to do things and there's a way not to, and you just don't cross those bad lines. Oh, my friend passed away because a forest ranger killed him, and a lot of his family said that that was unjustified, even though I can clearly see in the video that the kid wasn't being very, I don't know, compliant, as they say. So I'm gonna go ahead and burn my fucking city down and light other cars on fire and shoot innocent kids because I'm feeling pissed off and hurt and distraught. Who's that gonna help? How's that gonna make my situation or their family situation any better? But that's just how it is nowadays. It's the new normal. When someone dies, usually of color, like black, then everybody has to gang up and start taking down police officers and making them scared so that they go home to defend their families while everybody runs the streets, causing millions of dollars, breaking into stores and not giving a fuck about other people. And not on top of that, taking big 2x4 boards and then, like the ones in New York, bashing elderly people in the fucking head and face with that shit. That's just bullshit, dude. And when it's all said and done, the justice part of all the rioters, and the majority of the rioters, social media pictures and everything are out there. The ones that got their mugshots up there, arrested and whatever else, doing time. All this will finally blow over. And 2020 will probably be the only year that all of this has ever happened in a very long time, of being the most shittiest year. And it's really what you make of it. And before I leave this video, I'd like to leave out some pointers and details of how racist America really is in other places around the country. And how black people would say that us white people enslaved their families, which, yeah, sure, they taught us some of that in the history books, but they didn't teach us in the history books that William Ellis, who also was black, you know, I guess if I remember correctly, down south, wherever it was, link in the description, also enslaved his family members and other black people just to make money, just to also compete against the white slave owners. I bet they didn't teach you that in school, did they? And that when I grew up, like anybody else should grow up, learning about this stuff, you had a lot of heads in the classroom look at each other, and black people starting to, you know, form their own little groups and kind of stay away from us, but still our friends, but kind of looking at us and trying to think, well, do I really hate this person? Is this person really an asshole? Why do they need to segregate us that fucking bad, both in classroom and on social media? So of course, growing up as a young kid, every black person I saw, if I approached him, which I was afraid to approach him, but if I approached him, I would act completely out of character. I'd be like, yo, my brother, what up, dude? How you doing? You know, what's going on, man? But I didn't need to say that. You know, they're not my brother. I owe them nothing, and they owe me nothing. Just like I don't need to get down on my knees and kiss their shoes, and they don't need to do the same to mine. But again, pushing all this racism and the history books bullshit, that really touches some really nasty subjects. And I'm not saying that we should take them out of history books. But nobody's normalizing these type of things, so that's why a lot of people do the whole hand slap, fist bump, and then act like everybody's a brother here. When instead we should just be normalizing that this is America. We're all in this together. This is the United States of America. We're all Americans. So now when I approach anybody, especially of color like a black dude, I'm like, hey man, what's up? How's your life? Oh, you're just traveling through here? Nice, where are you coming from? Oh, cool, that's nice. Instead of me again going, hey, my brother, what up, dog? How you doing, homie? Yo, where you going from, dog? Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I feel you, fam, yeah. Do you really want to end systematic racism? Then end stereotyping and everything else that we do with every other person. Because in the end, it really doesn't help anybody. So that's why I learned to just stop acting a certain way that people want me to act, and act my own self.